out tonight to our Wednesday night service. If you're visiting with us, we especially welcome you and thank you for being here with us this afternoon. We're going to do something just a little different. We'll talk about, I was in Kentucky last week, and I've got some pictures that we'll look at and talk about that and some things that took place, and look forward to going back and all of you being a part of that. There's, what are you going to say? Let's all stand.
We'll keep it short. Number 450.
Yeah, 450. Let me get it. Turn right to it.
Precious Lord, take my hand, lead me on, help me stand. I am tired, I am weak, I am worn. Through the storm, through the night, lead me on to the light. Take my hand, precious Lord, lead me home. When my way grows dear, precious Lord, linger near. When my life is almost gone, hear my cry, hear my call, hold my hand lest I fall. Take my hand, precious Lord, lead me home.
Now the bed this year doesn't got us all straightened out. We can get started. Thank you. So,
Preacher, could they turn those two lights out? That's all washed out.
can we turn some of these lights off or down or
Yeah.
screw bulbs or?
No, that's much better.
The verse that I want to read to you this afternoon is in Proverbs 21:13, and it's one that I use in doing mission work. And it says, "Whoso stoppeth his ears to the cry of the poor, he will also cry himself and not be heard." And what it's telling us right there, if we have the opportunity to reach out and help those that are in need, then we should do it. You know, you've always got to think of it this way. And that is basically, it's just by God's grace that we're not in this situation.
Amen.
All it would take, and we all know this, is one 12.9-inch rainfall to come through Lansing and Warrensville, and we'll be in this situation.
That's true.
And let's pray it never happens. You know? So, when I'm doing mission work and reaching out, I try to keep this in mind and being very thankful for the blessings that I have in life and to use those to help others that are in need. We'll go through some of these pictures. Okay, this truck, you'll see it in some pictures. That's the fire chief that's over the fire department there. This was a main road. It's in a country gravel road that's just going back out through the woods. You can see this gravel right here that's been brought in, and the bulldozer and stuff has been through to open it up just so we could drive up through that. That used to be a main road. And you know, if you go down the creek for miles, you'll find all the asphalt on the banks and just piled up in the creeks down through there. So he's taking us out right here to start to show us some of the devastation, and we're following him in the van. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
And you'll see a lot of this. You know, a lot of cars were piled up from the water and the floods that came through there. You know, and who knows where some of it came from. You know, some of the folks that we talked to would be a half a mile up the road, and we'd already passed their home that was in the trees, or their cars that was down in the trees and stuff before we ever got to them. Some of this right here, you'll see it right here in a few minutes, but some of these pictures may be duplicated too. I was going through about 200 or 300 trying to put some together. This right here was actually out of one of the churches that was destroyed, and they had came in and piled it up. You can see there's another car, and she draws it in. That's used to be part of a mobile home and stuff. And that's just, you know, homes and buildings that's been washed down. This town of Russo we were in, it destroyed 4 counties. The town of Russo that right here we were in is the one that got, it was like 12.9 inches of rain in a matter of an hours. The ones around it got like 11 and then down to 8 or 9. It started at 4 o'clock in the morning, and within an hour or so, you know, they were woke up and water was already in their homes that quick. There's some more cars. Now see this little creek? That's what caused all the devastation. That creek. Right there, it was that small. And you can see how far back it was out here, and you see these cars. So that'll show you what 12 inches of rain will do. It'll take that creek, you know, and turn it in to a major river that quick. This was part of it. You can see it running here. You see some of that back in here tore up. Most of all this stuff through here, if you got down there at it, was just gutted out. You know, they were very fortunate that it was actually still standing, I think.
Did any of these homes have power?
No,
No.
not at the time. None of them did. They didn't have power. They didn't have water. I went to ask to use the bathroom in one place, and we couldn't. You can still see the creek here. There used to be, they told us there were used to be cars piled up here. There used to be like 2 or 3 mobile homes that sat in this whole area here. You don't even see the foundation. It's all gone. All of it was washed away. Here, somebody's already come and wrote on this. A lot of them, some of the homes you might see will have X's on them, and that's where they've already come through and sprayed stuff on them and condemned the homes. Now, what I saw was some of them that already had X's on them was condemned. Once they left, they moved back in them. They were trying to live in them. They didn't have any place to go. Of course, this was one. This is everything that was inside the home. They piled up out front. This is John Triplet, John's Over Hope Ministry, which is like our ARC, and where we hand out food. And this is our trailer that we had. It was full. John's also going to be here on Tuesday night of our revival preaching for us. You'll really enjoy that. He does a great job. But this is the trailer that he and I took up. This right here is the community center in that area, and you can see where people will start to bring stuff in that community center right there. And you think, when you saw that, you don't have to go back, when you saw that, you think, well, that's quite a bit of stuff, but there's 5,000 families. 4,000 to 5,000 families. So really, it's nothing when you start looking at it that way. And you can see we had a lot of paper towels, toilet paper and stuff that we took up. That's just more devastation out of the house. This is, and I've never seen this disaster, and I've been to a few. This response team right here was out of, it's a Christian ministry, and it was out of Ohio. I don't know who they were. I saw them, but I've never seen them before. But they had come down to help. You saw a lot of this. I saw stuff like this 40 miles, 30 or 40 miles away from where all this happened, like going back towards Pikeville, Kentucky and stuff. They had taken it out there in dump trucks and just piled it up on the side of the interstate to get it away. And I guess they will come back later on and haul it to a landfill. But no, this was, do you see that tent? Mm-hmm. Yeah, see, everything's out of the house and they're staying in that little tent right there. And this home right here, of course, was flooded out. This double wide in that van was not supposed to be there. It was on up the road. And it had floated down to that point. There's a big bank right here, and that's what stopped it all right there. See that? The guy that we was with, Jeff, I asked him, I said, where did that mobile home come from? We hadn't figured out where. Somebody brought them this camper. They're living in that camper here trying to get power from that pole when they cut it on. But we still haven't figured out where that came from. And you can see that's the trailer. It was a tractor trailer off down there in the river. And y'all know if you drive trucks, how heavy those things are. But it floated down the river. Maybe if we draw it in right here just a little bit, can you see that's a home? That's the roof. You see the windows? And that's just, it's collapsed in. It carried the entire home. I'll show you the foundation in a minute. It'll come up. But it picked that entire home up and carried it off its foundation. You'll see the block and stuff in a few minutes where it was. See some stuff right here in the trees. I can't tell you, we drove for miles up through there and you would see mattresses and of course clothes were everywhere. The trees, power lines, bicycles, trampolines. You just keep naming stuff that you saw in the trees and hanging from the power lines and stuff.
Jack, did they have any warning that this storm was coming?
The ones that I talked to right there, Dan, some of them, they did. They were in bed asleep. Like this one little lady, she's 77 years old, lived in a single white mobile home. She woke up, her power went off at 4:30, and she got up to see why the power was off. And when she stepped out of bed, it was knee deep. And she made it to her kitchen, climbed up on the refrigerator, and it was a day and a half later before anybody got in to get her. She laid on the refrigerator. And she said I had no clue that it was even coming. We were, expecting big storms that night, but didn't realize it was going to dump 12 inches of rain on them. This house is off its foundations there. It's been washed off. Now the house I showed you that was collapsed and the roof and the trees, that's where it washed it off its foundation. It just picked the entire home up. Washed it. You can see they brought stuff out, piling it on the porch. That's basically, that's just destroyed. It's even ripped the door and stuff off. And
now, did they float in these houses, or did they manage to get out of these houses?
the ones that ended up floating in it are, they found 50-some dead. And I'll show you some, one of the sad, I mean, I've seen some sad stuff. We'll look at it right here in a few minutes. Beside of a church. Well, I'll wait till we get to it and I'll show you, cause this really, it tore me up. That was, we saw part of that a minute ago. You see the debris was piled up here. All the road, I mean, it's not a road, those mobile homes used to be over and there, they're gone. Look how close it got. Stopped right there.
So that house up there was not damaged? or-
Right. Yeah, it got to right there and stopped. You see that line?
And it didn't wash the bridge out.
I know.
That's amazing.
A lot of them it did. A lot of bridges we saw collapsed on the ground, but for some reason, whoever built that done a great job. Still just part of it. It looks like some power lines hanging down right here. You can see it across the road. That creek's way back over here. It was all up on those homes. Any of these homes across right here, they were all flooded. They wasn't in, what I'd say, the main stream of that river, you know, but they was still, see, can you see that line? That's how high it was, you know, up on it. Right through it here. You see it's all washed out underneath it. And like I say, I know this looks like something that you would go out up here and just drive through old country road stuff, but all that used to be paved and that was a main road up through there. You still see that little creek right here, how it's all washed out. Still, once we saw that a minute ago at home. You see it piled up here, that one's all destroyed. You see a bunch of roofs, metal roofs and stuff laying everywhere.
It's like a war zone.
Yeah, it really does. Well, right here, can you see that lady? Yeah, right there she is. We stopped and talked to her and stuff. She had a couple of buckets right here, and we'll see her house on the way back down. It's across the street. But all her family lived up through here, both sides of the roads. They had mobile homes and stuff, and they're all gone. But she was in that little pool trying to get some clean water out of it in those buckets so they'd have something to wash off with. And that's all she had left. Well, she's got on. That was it. You see that the wire's all gone. Of course, that's what you see a lot of down there in the yards after it's cleaned up and stuff. You know, they've had some rain since then, so some of these, all the mud that was in some of these yards is actually cleaned up some, but a lot of them's just living now in those tents. More cars and stuff piled up
See
in
any
there.
mailboxes or anything, it's like everything is gone.
Yeah. Yeah, now that you said that, you see that house piled up,
Yeah,
there's two cars, and
no mailbox.
they look like they're just destroyed. You know, like they're ripped them apart, basically.
I bet there's a lot of trees and stuff coming down that creek.
Yeah, a lot.
And that's probably what did a lot of it.
Talking about that bridge there a minute ago, wasn't washed out, I bet the water come up so fast that everything went across the
Carried
top.
over. Now, remember the lady that was carrying the water just a second ago? That's her home across the street. And this part right here is a bedroom. And you see the X's on it right here. They've already condemned it, cause I mean, there's her living room, sofa and everything's still sitting in it. You can see the kitchen and everything up in there, cause it ripped the whole front of the house off. But they've condemned it, but they're living in that bedroom. Whole family is, they're trying to stay there. You see the little cinder blocks where she's climbed up and they're all trying to live in that little bedroom. They don't have anywhere to go, you know, that was it.
And cold weather's coming.
Yeah, that's right. And we talked about that, when was that, Sunday night? And I can get them gloves. I got a friend that owns a glove company, I can get them gloves, but we may start sometime around then, start collecting up some socks.
Gloves ain't gonna do no good though if they ain't got no house to get in.
And then, you know, socks and hand warmers and whatever we can take them. That was just a big, I can't tell you what all was piled in that. I mean, you can see somebody's deck and, well, you know, it's just piled in there. That's just, all the way back up through the holler's gone, it's just feet of mud. You know, I don't know how deep it was, but it was, you could just tell it's that deep, and they told me, you know, they won't try to clean that up. They'll just plant grass. You see that roof of that house right here, it's gone. That's the whole roof here. The mobile homes. See, this is washed off the foundation, but that's a roof off of another one from somewhere.
People standing there.
Yeah, right there. You can see it better right here. See the whole roof. How that one's, that's on, we've been looking at stuff on this side of the river, that's over there on the other side of it. And I'll tell you something amazing, there's two things about this whole area that people live in. One is when you go drive down through that river, there's not many bridges going across to the homes that you drive on. They're all bridges that you walk on. So they park on this side of it at the road and walk over to their home. You know, so all of those were gone. They didn't have any way of crossing back and forth on that river to get to the main road or get over to their home. And of course, that whole area there's no city water at all. That fire department has 2 fire trucks, and if anybody knows anything about, you know, fire trucks and stuff, each fire truck were small, they only held 500 gallons each. And I think you can dump one, a 500 gallon truck, can't you dump it, Richard, about 2 minutes?
Yes.
So you're looking at 4 minutes of water, basically, if something catches on fire, helps. But you know, the light, right before John and I took off and left, all that Thursday, we had 2 guys go with us, and both of those guys work with companies on getting fire trucks. So they're trying to help them get a bigger one up there, maybe donate it to them. He was in there just piling it out, throwing it out.
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, you're good, that's fine. You can see that whole roof, there's the deck, there's the whole roof of that house. See, you see all that, I mean, it destroyed that mobile home. That's all the metal. If anybody knows what one looks like underneath, that's all the beams.
Right.
Yeah, that holds it together, so imagine, I can't imagine how much pressure that had to be to bust it loose from those metal beams like that. That's the community center that we were at, and that's where they're keeping, you know, if we take supplies up, that's where we'll go to. They're keeping it at. Now, the guy that we saw sitting there earlier, he runs an organization called Lakefront Ministries, which is just like the Ark and just like Hope Ministries. He gives out food each day to folks that needs it, but he is probably 5 miles back down towards the good end. You know, so we're putting all the supplies and stuff right in the middle of where everything happened. A lot of them could even just walk there and get it. You saw that earlier. Some of those, like I said, will probably, let's see some different ones. That was that foundation we saw earlier where that home, the entire home was gone off top of it. This right here, this was just a mess. I mean, that house is kind of leaning, it looked like it was kind of collapsing, you know, kind of leaning back. Some, you could tell it right here on its back side, how it's just washed out from underneath it. These guys right here, this was a group that we saw. They were the Baptist men, but they are Baptist men for Texas. So I imagine they may be back home now, because I think Texas just got some flooding in the last couple of days. But they were in his home, helping his family to strip it out, pile it up. These folks right here now, they're a little different. They bagged all their stuff up. Everybody else was piling it and throwing it out on the side of the road, and they bagged everything for them.
Well, you have God bless them, they probably don't know what to do.
Yeah, I'm sure they don't.
You probably do stuff like that just out of sheer
Yeah.
nervous tension.
They're just taking everything out. They had taken their stuff out, and their garage right here, they were living out of the garage, it was fine. It's just a bridge we were crossing over, it was just piled up. Yeah. Yeah, I noticed these Pepsi machines right here, and I think there was another one up there.
Most of this will probably never even, nobody will be able to build back or put anything back.
And the reason for it is because, well, there's two reasons that I see. One, the state, I was hurt, I don't know this, I have to look it up, I was told they were only given $13 million, that's for the 4 counties. Well, it would take more than $13 million to build all those roads back,
Oh, yeah.
you know? So, I don't see them going in a place like this and cleaning all that up and getting rid of all that debris, so these folks, so she and these folks can build back right there, you know?
They'd probably be considered in the floodplain.
Yeah, I'm sure
See,
now.
they couldn't
Yeah.
build back.
Build back. After that, I mean, and who's going to insure them now?
Nobody.
You know,
They sure can't build back on $187.
that's exactly right. Yeah, so you take that lady right here, that lady right there, she was probably, I didn't ask her, but she was probably one of the women that got written a check for $187 to build her house back.
You gotta be kidding.
She got a case of water and $187. That's what that came from FEMA the week before we were there.
The sad thing is that this was in foreign land, we'd be over there giving
Oh.
billions.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. There's some more Pepsi stuff. I think if I knew it was coming, I'd have gotten that little boat and hightailed it now, you know?
I hated to ride that thing out there though.
Yeah, I know it. You just had to put it on dry ground, sit there and wait on it to get you.
They were talking about on the news this morning, these are like 1,000-year storms, these are not 100-year storms. 1,000-year storms,
You know,
how's that even, I can't get my mind around that.
and, this is what a lot of it looked like. Up through that valley. I took this picture from somebody else's phone that was there and saw it. Cause I told him, I said, let me see that, cause I want them to see, actually that creek that we've been looking at, that's that creek. What it looked like for miles and miles through 4 different counties. One county we went at had almost like somewhere around 100 businesses, and every business is gone in that county. But now you can see that creek that's in places not even as wide as this pew and ankle deep. That's what happened to it. In just a matter of hours.
And there went people's jobs.
That's right. Yes, ma'am. Now this whole family here, their home was here, it's gone. Somebody's given them a tent, canopy and stuff, and that's them. They own a fire bill, and that's the way they're living right now. Look at, I mean, you see, like you were saying, all the trees and stuff, it's just,
And the asphalt, you can see the
yeah,
asphalt.
you see asphalt here piled up, you know. But that's what they were living in. This girl and mama was sitting there with her dog, waiting for help.
Or in fact, that humble you, they don't anything.
I know it breaks my heart. This is the inside of one of the churches. They had already come in. Remember I showed you in front, all that stuff piled up? That's what come out of the inside of that church. Right there. So they were trying to they had some fans set up. Actually, in this part, they had some electricity back on. They had a couple of fans set up trying to dry that cement pad out so they could go back, because if they can get that church back going, that's it. You see where it was, you see right there the stuff that was piled up outside, right there. You know, that was it, everything inside it. That's the church there. We stopped there and got out and talked to some men and stuff that was working in that area.
That's it,
That's it?
that's it.
But anyways, right beside this church, I was hoping I had that one on there. There's an area probably about the size of our parking lot and this whole little corner from the stop sign out here at the intersection, and right beside that church, and mud was probably a couple of feet deep. I guess they had lost the lives of, they had found 50 people at that time, and they were hunting for 2 more ladies. And somebody was about 100% sure they were buried in that mud beside that church. And they didn't realize, or they were trying to realize how they could go in and get them out. You know, but it was probably 2 feet deep up through there, and they knew those 2 women were buried in that. And to be honest with you, most of them standing there said they wouldn't go in and get them, they'd just plant it in grass and go on. You know, it'd be almost impossible to go in there and try to get them out. Now, I look at this as an opportunity for us to reach out and help. I personally would like to continue to help. I got a little enclosed trailer off the bottom of the mountain I'd like to bring up in a week or so and put up here beside our carport and everything, and maybe have this as a drop-off point. I'm not gonna ask for a lot of different items right now, because paper towels, toilet paper, any kind of drink like Gatorade or juice for kids and stuff, and,
Cleaner.
laundry detergent. Or dish detergent, or anything they can clean with, clothes or themselves or something with. You know, that's the four things I'm gonna ask for to take up. I will tell you a couple stories. One is John that was with me, they were wanting box fans for the ones that were getting power back on. Because of course, there's no heat pump or anything like that left. You know, this, any kind of air conditioning unit was outside, their homes are gone. And, so John, had a church in Wilkes come by and brought him 25 box fans for us to take up. And when we got there, he told Jeff, the guy that's overseeing that, he said, I've got your 25 box fans on the trailer. I counted them, put them on there, we're gonna stack right in the middle. They were something, matter of fact, he got straight on the phone, they were contacting some families, they're here. The people were coming for them. So we were unloading them, and I was standing at the door, and they were throwing me stuff, and I'd catch it and hand it off, and they'd go stack it up. And I thought, this most darn box fan. He said he only had 25. So anyways, he went and they stacked them up around a pile because he knew these folks were coming, you know, to get them right then. Well, when we were done, I went over and I said, John, how many box fans you bring? He said, 25. And I hadn't even told him this story yet. I didn't tell him. Because this was, me and Jeff was talking about, John was out unloading, doing some other stuff. And I asked him, I said, how many box fans is stacked up right there? I mean, he'll count it, there was 32. And I said, he said, do you know how many families have contacted us to come get these box fans? 32. And I said, John, how many box fans did you bring? He said, I brought 25, Jackie, I told you, I counted them. But it's just, you know, that's just the way the Lord works.
Yep.
You know, I turned around and looked at him and I told Jeff that was over, and I said, hold on, we're getting ready to be 5,000.
Amen.
You know, you can make a day trip out of this. Ours was Long Thursday, it's our first trip, we wanted to see all this. And then when we went back to Lakefront Ministries, we spent a couple hours there because we wanted to see how he fed the people in the community. We walked through the whole process and looked at all that we didn't have to do, but we, you know, John and I was interested in seeing all that. So, we left out at 4 o'clock in the morning. We didn't get back to about 11 o'clock that night, but we could have been back 3 hours earlier, probably. So, it took 4.5 hours from Wilkes. That's going straight up through Mountain City, so you can cut the time from Wilkes off from here, and we could go up, hit Mountain City and go on. It's probably 3.5 hours or 4 at the most from here, I would think. It's a great trip. They're very, very, I know I've got more power, because I didn't see the pictures of me and the guys over the fire department and stuff. Oh, I don't know what I done.
There were several different files that I looked through last night, and they had pretty much the same pictures.
The guy that's over the fire department, I gave him one of our car stickers that has WBC on it, and he was putting it on his fire truck, you know, to remind him of us praying for him, and praying for the community, and for us helping and reaching out to them. I think it's, as you can see, it's a big need, you know, and I'm sure we can all help in some way, helping. I know he sent me a text last night, needing Bibles, so I've got some Bibles, and I know some of y'all, have contact with Gideons that can help us get Bibles to take up, so we'll work on that. There was a man and woman that came to church here Sunday. They sat right here behind Miss Kathy. And they were friends with Tina and I. He worked with Tina for years at Lowe's, Terry Elliott. And Terry told us when we were leaving, he said, we got up this morning, not even thinking we were going to come to church here, and looked at each other and said, let's go to Warrensville. And got in the car and came up here, and he said, you know why we're here? And I said, no. He said, we've been discussing all week at our church. We need to find somebody that can get us in contact with somebody in Kentucky so we can help. And he said, and there you were bringing all that up. He said, that's the whole reason I'm here. So, he said if they couldn't make a trip, that they would bring their supplies here so we could for them. If we get enough people to go, then we can load up the van, and I'll pull the trailer with my dually and we'll go up there. I think you would enjoy it. I think it'd be a good time with all of us together. Help out. Any questions?
Are you gonna collect funds for this?
We can. Yeah.
I mean, like,
Yeah, that's something we can do. We really need to, I guess, set up something, with Miss Linda, where if anybody wants to write a check or anything, we can have something just to put that in, just for, and we can go use it to go buy supplies.
Well, we can take up a special offering.
Because if I just took money up, I wouldn't know who to give it to.
No.
I really wouldn't.
Well, as Larry suggested, that you take money and go and get it,
Yeah.
Wholesale, I
Yeah,
don't know
'cause
who
one thing
could.
they need is, to-go boxes, those clam shell boxes, they need those. John and I went out and bought 400 or 500 before we left, because on Saturdays, they're cooking all these meals and taking them out through these roads and just passing them out to people. So they
And
need
in the
those.
meantime though, where are they getting food?
Well, there's different organizations bringing on some canned goods and stuff like that. Bringing it in.
And there's no place like, when they have hurricanes or whatever, they set up a school, and all the people that have nowhere to go and they stay on mats or whatever, but there's nowhere for them to go.
If there's some place for them to go right now, he didn't show it to us.
I would think
I
that
did.
church would be,
Yeah, maybe that's what
people
they're
come
gonna
in.
do.
Yeah, and that's a good possibility once they get it
Then,
dried
then
out.
we should help that church
Yeah.
rebuild,
Yeah.
so that they can help these people that have nowhere to go, cause they're gonna be cold.
Well, he can help us with, locating churches too, because I think he wiped 7 churches out in that area. The text I got last night was for Bibles and school supplies to get kids started. So I know that I gave you the 4 main things that they need. But if you bring something else, we'll turn it down. Of course, if you bring school supplies or you bring a case of corn or anything, I'm gonna take anything anybody brings.
What if we could sponsor a child?
I'll find that out. I'll call him tomorrow and ask him.
Most any of us could sponsor
Yeah.
a young'un in school, so
Right.
he get what he needs,
Right.
They have it when he gets to school.
That's
The
right.
roads are
school.
not.
Well, they're probably doing it like
You
outside.
imagine
They're
how
probably doing
difficult
homeschool
it would be
as
for
best they
an
can.
adult, but think about the kids.
Oh, I do.
Because kids don't understand really, and the fact that everything they've known for their
Gone.
little lives is gone. And they're probably, all the fear and the anxiety, and, I imagine the psychological part of this has got to be just
Oh.
excruciating. It's gonna be horrible.
They all are toward everything.
Yeah, everything. These kids are with the clothes they had on when they ran out of their house.
These were poor people to begin with.
That's
They
exactly right.
They have
Yeah.
flat out
See,
nothing.
You're exactly
Yeah,
right.
they were poor people.
These folks, all these folks live back up in the hollers.
Yeah.
And that's what they call it.
Mhm.
And, the guy that I was sitting there talking to that is overseeing is Jeff. I was telling him, about us coming up and doing mission work, which was just right down the road from where this happened. And I told him about, I don't know if I told you, I told him about them taking me and you out to that prison that night back up in the mountains for those kids. We were up there singing and doing a Bible school, and they said, hey, will you go out and talk to these kids, this prison? So they had the women that was with us and tended them come in and sit in the corner and not move, and they brought them all out in shackles and stuff. It was like the last place they were going before going to big prison, and we had a lot saved that night. So, and he knew about that. I think this is a good opportunity, and I think everybody agrees on it. Good outreach for us to help.
It's a sin if we don't.
Yes,
Exactly.
that's
all I
I
gotta say
agree.
about it.
I agree.
Yeah.
Those Stevens not doing anything to him.
Yeah, they were gone. You know, I can tell you, Samaritan's Purse was set up right up in the middle of them. That group from Ohio, and you saw the men from Texas. And then down the road, I saw a couple of big trucks set up from Billy Graham's outreach program. It was set up, that's what I saw, and I never saw anything from FEMA, and I never saw anything from Red Cross, and they told me they were gone.
Well, the Lord has put this in our lives for something. I think we need to follow.
The man and woman came in and got a box fan. I know I'm being long tonight, but I gotta tell you how the Lord worked when we got there at that community center. We didn't know about, we knew, not anybody. There was some ladies come in that helped us, and man, they just had, you could just see the Spirit all over them, right? And they're sitting around talking, and John looked over and said, Jackie, sing a little song. And they're like, yeah, come on, let's sing. So we broke out into Amazing Grace, and we were standing there singing. That couple come in, got a box fan, and they were the ones had the check for $187, and they were the ones told us about the little lady right there across the road that was 77, climbed up on her refrigerator and stuff, and then their neighbor that took a picture of their mailbox in her house and went down and tried to apply to get that $187, and they said no. Your home wasn't bad enough. Well, they had 40-some inches of mud inside their home. But anyways, inside that, I'm telling you, man, the Lord was with us all day. Me and those three ladies broke out to sing Amazing Grace.
Amen.
Jeff, I broke out to preach and son, just so thankful, for knowing that what God has given me, and I was heartbroken knowing that I had to leave them. I felt guilty. I'm going back home and laying in my bed that night, but I shouldn't, because the Lord's blessed us. It's just by His grace, like I said, that we're not going through that. And, but it was a good time in there. I could have flat broke out and preached for a while. If they had went out and got more people that come in, I might have still been there. It might have been like at my house today. I got Tina pulled up and I was wearing it out in the house. I'm telling you, I got in His Word today and was reading it and broke out to preaching in the house and got both my dogs saved. Tina was like, why's the dogs out on the back deck? I said, I think they got tired of hearing me preach. I've been at it for an hour. So Sunday's gonna be good.
Yeah.
It's gonna be real good. What about prayer requests?
I've been requesting prayer for my mom, and now she has COVID.
Oh, no.
So keep that on pile. So please be praying for my mom. I have several unspoken requests. I have a dear friend that has just got some stuff going on, and I just got a lot to pray about. So please just keep me in prayers.
I've got an unspoken
our son-in-law's got COVID, and also his mom and his sister, so remember them.
My sister from Harmony called today, one prayer request for her neighbors, Leroy and Betty. They're up in their 80s, and they got 3 kids. Both of them sick, and their kids won't come around and help them. Gilman called the lady this morning, and she was crying because the kids wouldn't come help.
How so sad.
Talked to Janie yesterday, she said she still felt bad. Sore throat still. Remember her?
Can you remember Jerry?
Ryan Marlowe. Remember him?
Can you remember Jerry and his situation, and the fellow that he's been talking to? They said they had a very good talk last night. And
Amen.
just keep praying for him.
Amen.
He's got stage 4 cancer and he needs the Lord.
Amen. Pray God gives him the words. Say,
Pray for Donnie that, you'll get to feeling a whole lot better, cause we're supposed to go back to Winston Monday.
Monday. Remember Donnie. I miss Donnie being with us. He's a blessing.
He sure misses not being here.
Yeah, I know he does.
Remember Margaret's brother and sister-in-law, they'll be driving back to Texas, I guess, toward the end of the week.
Tomorrow, I think.
Chris Kearley, he's a guy that has cancer here in the county. He finished all of his treatments and he has scans Monday and Tuesday.
What was that name?
Chris Kearley.
Chris Carey. I think Eric Gilly came home today.
Yeah.
Continue to pray for him.
My mom and dad were doing better with COVID, but mom tested positive again on Sunday, had a relapse, but I think she's feeling better now.
For them, Dad. Pray for our service
Amen.
Sunday. I look forward to it. It's hard. Folks get a little uptight when you preach on hell.
It is real, and we need to
But
hear
it has
it.
to be done.
Amen.
It has to be done. And, you read scripture your whole life, and then all of a sudden you read it, and something just jumps out at you. You know? And I've read that over and over and over again, and heard it preached, and heard it talked about. But man, there was really something jumped out at me today with Lazarus and the rich man. So, let's just pray God's gonna give us a good service. Speak through me. If there's one lost, I pray that they realize Sundays will be the day of salvation for them. If not, if anybody can come, let's come to this altar this afternoon and pray for all these prayer requests. Larry, Glenn, would you open this up? Jim, would you close this?
Kind gracious Heavenly Father, Lord, we just thank you for the beautiful day you provided for us, another opportunity to come out to thy house. Lord, we just thank you, Lord,